Hey there, it's Pete over at the Sampleist, and today we are checking out low-end strings from Native Instruments and 10 Phantom Rooms. Low-end strings is a hybrid orchestral string instrument, and organic samples have been put through vintage and more modern equipment to create these amazing sound design patches. So if you're into booming low strings and string effects, pads, atmosphere, pulses, strings with movement, this is exactly the place for you. The instrument has been created by 10 Phantom Rooms, which was founded by Tobias Manguza and Paul Haslinger. If you've used the Schema Dark instrument, then you'll know exactly what I mean when I say the sound design is absolutely next level. Low-end strings downloads at 2.4 gigabytes, and there are 134 snapshots with 3 variations each. It is NKIs compatible, runs in the free KONTAKT player 7.6 or better. It currently sells for £89 on the Native Instruments website, and at the moment it is not a part of any complete collection. What we're going to do in this video is do a overview of the instrument, see what sounds it contains in different categories, and play lots of examples, and then I've put it into a typical composition that I would create using this kind of instrument. So some tension with a little bit of melody, and I can say, having worked with the instrument for several hours, in fact many hours, it really is a fantastic beast of a hybrid string instrument. But you're going to hear about all that. Before we go any further, I would like to take the opportunity to thank Native Instruments for sending over a license, a copy, a free version of low-end strings so we could make this video. So while we get the instruments for free, it does not influence our thoughts, our ideas, or any judgments that we have of the library. But I will say, just straight out of the park, this is a brilliant instrument, because this is the kind of instrument that I use day in, day out, and I just think the sound design is superb. So there we go. Now I'm going to spend the rest of the review or the video justifying why I've just said that, but yeah, let's jump in and just see what it's all about. And here we have the low-end strings loaded up in the Native Instruments Complete Control player. Now this is one of those instruments that I have to kind of explain before I start playing the sounds, because there's a lot going on. First of all, the GUI just screams cinematic at me, and this is a very cinematic instrument. You can see at the top we've got 4 layers, and of course you can change any of the 4 layers to create different sounds, and then of course you can save the creations you've made. So this is a full-on sound design instrument. But the reason I'm mentioning the 4 layers is because on the left hand side you have the 3 variations. So if I use the mod wheel, you can see it's cycling through the 3 variations of the sound. So I've loaded up Air Genetics, and I'm just going to play a couple of notes and cycle through the sounds. Instantly, it just evokes classic cinematic scoring, but obviously with a modern edge. Now it's called low-end strings, so if I just play the low D, it's got that growl going on, and that is what I absolutely love about the instrument. It just growls. Now, a little bit more housekeeping, and it's nothing major, but at the top, I've just updated KONTAKT, and I cannot get this orange box off. Normally, you just click on it if it comes on, and answers on a postcard if anyone wants to help me out with that. But anyway, let's move on. So on the left-hand side, you have, I think it was 136 presets. And all these, like I say, have 3 different variations. You can obviously select these in low-end strings as well. So I'm actually going to do it this way so we can look at the different categories. But you've got basses, you've got pads, you've got sound effects, and you've got silo sustain. So when I start playing some of these, I will be cycling through the variations. So let's just go clean to worn out. Sounds great. So again, you've got that real low end going on. 5 voltage. So the sound design, like I say, is it's really, really clean. So sometimes you get like crazy sounds going on within obviously the sounds and the effects, but this is just like so usable straight out the box. Though what you notice from that patch is, yes, it's a low instrument, but it has plenty of range. Sounds great. Let's go for a couple more basses. Organ sub. Very cool. And let's go for Saturn Digital. Lovely. I don't know what that was. It sounded quite twee though. So again, it's emphasizing the range is not just low. And then voice tape. But I'm going to play something low here. So that's some basses. Then we've got pads, and the pads are just lovely. So deep lament. I'm quite enjoying the cutoff there. It's very, very cool. Let's go for another one. Whoops. Frozen Darkness. Yeah, sounds brilliant. Let's go for Old Tunnel. Yeah, the sounds are amazing. Obviously, I'm sort of trying to play two-handed and use the mod wheel. So the little joltiness was down to me then. Paradise Ambient. That's my kind of pad. There's so much going on there. Sad harmonics. Absolutely loving that low end. Very, very low. There we go. Let's just do... I'll do Silent Church. I feel like it should be quite video gamey. Yeah, some easy control in dynamics there. So yeah, you can go from like sort of smooth transitions, or you can have something a bit more abrupt. But obviously, when you're composing, that will be very, very useful. They've got some sound effects through frozen waves. So of course, I'm always just going to be playing really, really simple things so you can hear what the sounds are like. Not a Brahm. Yeah. I love that delay. That's awesome. Let's play one more. Rusty Invaders. Yeah. And then we've got some solo sustain. So Before the Storm. Do like that. Let's go for Ghost Melodies. I'm gonna play something a bit higher, see what it sounds like. Again, absolutely love that movement. Let's just play one more, because the joy is about discovering for yourself what these sound like. And of course, there's some amazing demos on the Native Instruments website, but I don't just want to sit here playing hours and hours of presets. They are incredible though. Absolutely love them. I was going to play one more actually, just Darkwater 1977 as a pad. Now that was one of the sounds when I was getting to know the library that I just absolutely fell in love with. So yeah, again, it just screams soundtrack to me. Now you'll notice Again, it's kind of like a sound design playground. So you've got all of these different controls: animate, filter, space, echo, drift, and time. We've got sub over here. So if you want more sub, you can boost it, you can turn it off, and then obviously you can cut it. And then it says low mid, so on or off. So if you feel like there's too much mud, because low end can actually have a good mud effect when you're building up the layers, you can just really sort the EQ out just in the instrument, which is very cool. Now if we go into the mixer, each layer has its own mixing. So we've got the pan, space, echo. You can add distortion with dirt, and you can change the effects as well of each one. And then you've got edit, so to sort of fit what you want it to do, you can edit the layer, which is nice and straightforward. So you just change the channel here. So I'm calling them layers, but they're labeled as channels. And then animate. So we have a step sequencer, which is really useful. And of course, there is an LFO as well. So yeah, it's nice and easy to use. And if you want to animate it, you just bring up the animate. And you can like edit the parameters using these buttons, but obviously you can just trigger them here. And of course you can learn MIDI CC automation. So if I was going to my fader, I actually picked the wrong one because I went straight for 7, which is very silly. That's probably a bit quiet now. Okay, so you can just do MIDI learn, and that is it. It's amazing. So really straightforward instrument, but the sound design is brilliant, and the fact you can create your own sounds from it and edits and sort of mold the sounds to exactly what you want is absolutely incredible. So brilliant design, brilliant sounds contained within. Now what we're going to do is put this into a composition, and it's a very, like say, typical composition that I do using sounds like this, but I've decided to throw in a lot more native instruments. There we go. So yeah, have a listen, see what you think, and then I'm going to talk about the composing experience. Okay, let's talk composition. Now, on the left-hand side, you can see I've used 6 low-end strings instruments. The reason I didn't use more is because I always do these compositions from the working composer viewpoint. And this is a really good example of the kind of tension or underscore that I might send to a publisher. You wouldn't have 15 or 20 low-end strings instruments because you get lots of bass and mud build-up. So I've been very selective about what I've used. And having used a library, I've found it's not just about low-end. There's lots of sort of middle and more high-pitch sounds coming through. And it creates amazing textures and pulses and atmospheres. So we're going to go on to listening just to the low end strings in a moment, but I'd like to talk about the rest of the composition. So I completed it, no pun intended, using the Complete 14 Ultimate CE. Now, I've been a Complete user since Complete 11, and you get so much content. I just cannot say enough how much great value that Complete is. So if you don't have it, definitely check it out. Now, I've used Damage, which is from Heaviosity, but it's part of Complete. I've used Noir, which is Galaxy Instruments. We've got Hybrid Keys, got part of the Cremona Quartet, Mallet Flux, and Rise and Hit. And I use Rise and Hit on absolutely everything. And if you've watched my other videos, Noir pops up a lot. Damage is a classic. The Cremona Quartet is just amazing. Mallet Flux is great. I use it for crime. And Hybrid Keys, I don't always use it. I've just been getting into it and I think it's absolutely fantastic. So it all started off with a low-end trio. So I used Dark Beauty and then the Brain Driver, which I'm using as a riser and not a Brahm. Sounds like this. It's instant cinema, but it's also instant texture, instant atmosphere. Absolutely brilliant. Now, if I just combine that with, let's just say, the little kind of like low-end Damage drum beat. We have a really quick cue starter. I'm not even changing the note. Everything, surprisingly, is in D again. Very, very much drawn to D of late, which I do mention quite a lot. And then we have the piano, which is playing a melody. And I've actually split the piano up into a lower part down here and a higher part as well. So it sounds like this. Now, I've done the classic thing of starting mid loop, so it sounds a little bit out of time, but the piano just sort of brings it all together. And Mallet Flux, it's like a hidden gem. I've used it so much because it just creates this amazing movement. Lovely. So if you do crime especially, it's an absolute godsend. And then combined, so I'm going to start here with the riser as well. It sounds like this. Lovely. Now I bring in the corrupted noises as well. So I'm just going to play the low end strings here. And the MIDI writing is really, really simple. It's just a case of repeating the Brain Driver as a riser, and then I've just copied and pasted the sort of, it's like a chord progression, but also I'm not playing chords, so it's just like a rising part, and it slightly alters second time round. But I've just copied that onto different instruments, just see what the textures work like, and it sounds like this. And again, instant cinema. So I could take all the other instruments away, probably leave Damage on, and it would just sound like a cinematic track. But of course, I love adding to it. So I've added a piano part, just nice and was going to use the word floofy. Is that a word? So that's the emotional preset from Noir. And the Corona Quartet, when it was released, I think it's in Complete 13, it just sounds amazing. The legato is upsettingly fantastic. It's not upsetting. It's very emotional. It tugs at the heartstrings. But I love the timbre, and I'm very, very picky about my solo strings, and the expressive vibrato and, like I say, just the overall timbre, it just really hits the spot. So combined with these melodies, it just sounds ace. The sound is incredibly full. If I mute the low end strings, it takes all the weight out of the composition. It sounds decent, but like I say, when I add the low end strings, just to compare. And there we go. So low end strings just, like I say, adds that texture, that depth, that weight. But if you want to use it just on its own, so it's more of an exposure instrument, of course you can. There's so many patches in there that will do that for you. Now, I wanted to use some bass, so I put that in here. Super crunchy. And then I've decided to add the pad as well. It sounds like this. So again, it is just out and out atmosphere. Now, I've used the hybrid keys. And I put that through Guitar Rig 7, and it just sounds absolutely phenomenal, because using Guitar Rig is fantastic if you're a guitarist. I'm a guitarist, and Guitar Rig 7 is brilliant. I remember one of the first VSTs I got was Guitar Rig 3, I believe. Was it 3? I don't know. But then when you start playing the using Guitar Rig with different instruments, it just becomes a different beast. And we have got an upcoming video on Guitar Rig 7 as well. Now, altogether, he says, without unmuting everything, sounds like this. So to go into our chord 4, there is a build up, like a sort of pickup. Then we've got our final section, and I want it to drive a little bit more, so I've kept the bass going, which is following the sort of chord progression, and I've added a Marti violin at the end, and again that sounds awesome. And then we just have the low end strings, and the cutoff is absolutely amazing. If I just play that end part. So there's no need to automate any fade outs or anything. It just decays beautifully. Now, if I play from here, so we've got the bass part as well, just listen to this texture. It sounds crunchy, it's got movement, it's got depth. So we're not just talking low end, it's got mids, it's got highs. It's really, really sophisticated in terms of sound design. But of course, when you play it in the mix, it doesn't sound like it's distorting or over the top. For some reason, I was enjoying the music so much there, I pressed the wrong button to stop it. I actually stopped recording. I don't know why, so apologies for the interruption in the streaming, and probably some editing that I'll do later. Now, let's talk about the compositional experience. I love low-end strings. It sounds incredible, and it has such a great range, but also, it's not just about subtle sounds or pulses or effects. All the sound design kind of melds together, so I didn't really feel the need to keep auditioning sounds. I kind of found workable, usable sounds, what I was after, really, really quickly. And then obviously exploring the library a lot more, I've not found a sound that I wouldn't use in a production, and that's what I love about this library. There's no filler, it's not just being padded out by some crazy sound design. Everything is thought out so beautifully, so you're going to get a lot of mileage out of this library. And you've already heard, if you start stacking the sounds, they just meld together amazingly well. So for me, I'm going to use it a lot. I would obviously use it in crime, I'd use it in horror, in trailers, epic music. I'm going to mention my tension without mentioning my tension somehow. Just all of these different styles of music, it's absolutely screaming out for. And of course, if you do electronic music or just anything, video game music, you're going to use this. And it's only £89 in the Native Instruments store, but it's one of those bread and butter libraries for me. So I'm going to be using it. And I'm comparing it to Schema Dark a little bit, because obviously it's the same people who made it, the same production developer. There we go. And I bought that without sort of realizing it's 10 Phantom Rooms. And it's just a brilliant library, and the sound design just works for me, and I've used it on a lot of productions already. Then of course this has come out, and they kind of just go together really well. So if you own Schema Dark, then Low End Strings again is a perfect library to complement it. But both libraries are incredible, but we'll talk about Low End Strings here. It's one of the most easiest purchases I would have had, because it's something that I'm going to use a lot. Normally at this point we'd have some closing thoughts. However, I feel like when I was talking about the compositional experience, I've summed it up pretty well. For me, it's a no-brainer purchase. It's an instrument that I'm going to get so much mileage out of, but it's not just because it's easy to use, etc. It's just the quality of the instrument, the sounds, the way it's designed, just everything going on. So with that in mind, I'd like to take the opportunity once again to thank Native Instruments for sending over a copy of Low End Strings so we could make this video. If you like what you heard, feel free to leave a like on the video and leave us a comment. What would you use this for? What do you like about it? Once you've done that, please check out our other videos on YouTube. We've got lots of content that we've already created, and of course we've got a lot more coming your way soon. And then if you've not done so already, please subscribe to our channel. We are growing rapidly. It's been absolutely amazing, and it's always down to the support from our viewers. Until next time, have a great day, make some amazing music, or in the case of Low End Strings, make some beautifully sound design yet tension filled music. There we go. Take care, enjoy.